space and continue on with this presentation. Are you ready? Everyone buckle up. Let's go. Yes, PowerPoint. Perfect. What we wanted to see. Guys, I've even gotten it now. We're just dragging this out, giving you guys itching right now, right? It's good times. It's good times to have some power occasionally here. All right. So number one thing, we were just talking about it. I know I've been talking about it all week. And for those of you that have been here every single day, I understand you know now, but not everybody knows this, okay? The Keyshot Bridge is now cross-platform, okay? That's even for all of you that already have the bridge and own it. This is something that doesn't happen all the time. That license now that you have already can now be installed on a Windows machine and a Mac machine, right? So when we first released this, you had to either get a license just for Macintosh side or just for Windows side. Now we've already updated all of you, existing users. You're already updated now. Your bridge will now work on both platforms, okay? And for those of you that have been really enjoying the summit, right, and you now want to get into stuff like this and the Keyshot Bridge with the Keyshot Pro or Keyshot HD made for ZBrush specifically, you're looking at a $550 package. I'm rounding up by like $1. $550 for Keyshot Pro with the bridge, or $350 with Keyshot HD with the bridge, which is a great deal. Because again, you guys just heard Keyshot Pro is normally $2,000 and Keyshot HD is normally $1,000. And again, I'm rounding up just to make it easy to hear the numbers, okay? I'm not going into that as much, right? This is the segment, Jimmy, we will be presenting the Space Mouse. Yeah, so again, buckle up, buckle up, buckle up. All right, so that's the first thing we just wanted to make sure everyone is aware of. Oh, look at the animation.
I like the rotation. That's the key right there. Yeah, that's, it's like what was the He-Man character that had multiple heads?
Oh yeah, the heads. I don't remember his name. You were the one I would ask for that.
I know. I don't know why I don't remember it right now.
You're the one I would ask. I did get you a Masters of the Universe T-shirt for Christmas one year for pizza.
I have it. I'm wearing it as the third T-shirt I'm wearing right now.
Okay, good. Glad you're wearing three.
Many faces.
You guys are learning a lot about Joseph tonight.
Hey, you get me at the late time. This is what happens.
All right. So again, to reiterate, okay, because this is really important for those of you, right, even that don't own ZBrush yet, take advantage of the Summit Special. Because if you take advantage of the Summit Special right now, that ends tonight, people. Today is the last night. You can get 20% off the perpetual license of ZBrush and or the perpetual license of ZBrush Core. Okay, we do not put ZBrush on sale very often at all. It's usually even maybe when we at the summit, and that's about it. We don't do that because we've given free upgrades for about 21 years. And even right now, if you guys go and purchase ZBrush right now, we are going to give you a free upgrade, right? So you just get it. If you don't have it, I don't know.
There's no need to wait. So basically, yeah, the version we're showing you now, you'll get it if you own the license.
Why you gotta steal all the thunder? Why you gotta steal all the thunder? Okay. All right.
I'm just recapping. Right. Just recap.
I like it. So of course, there's many ways to get into the world of ZBrush. Okay, and one way is through subscriptions. So you guys can also get a show special on your first payment on either a month-to-month subscription or a 6-month subscription to ZBrush. Those are the coupon codes that you will need when you go to our cart, which is just, as you can see, the link, store@pixologic.com. Again, the sale is ending tonight, Los Angeles time, 11:59 p.m. All right, so you got to do it tonight. Unfortunately, don't come like a week later and say, hey, can I get the deal? Unfortunately, no, it's happening. It's done tonight, right? So subscription for full ZBrush, right? The father, if you will, I am your father, right? Is 1 month. There's your coupon code, ZS2020 monthly, 6 month, every 6 months, ZS2020 6 months, right? And it's going to be 20% off your first payment. And after that, it'll go back to regular payment schedule time. Okay. So there you go. Again, get it. And those people obviously also get the free upgrade. So the next version, you guys get it for free too, because your subscription, you always get the most recent version. That's how it works. You guys know how subscriptions work. You don't need me anymore. I'm just here. I'm just loud and obnoxious. All right.
Again, I got to press the button to change the slide, Paul.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I do nowadays. Right. So again, everybody, get those giveaways. Now's the time where you guys can actually register for giveaways. I know Daisuke is probably going to be on in here in a second because he's like blazing fast with the links. So we still have things to give away from many of our sponsors. So I want to just thank again to our 11 sponsors here that we have: Keyshot, XMD Academy, Gnomon Workshop, Formlab, 3D Connection. Mine's working right now, up and running. Gnomon, the school, Monster City. We got also ZBrush Jewelry Workshops. We got Wacom. We got 3D Concept Artists, and we got 3D Character Workshops, right? So for all of you that are part of our sponsoring group that are in this right now, thank you so much. I can't say that enough. It makes the summit even more fun for everybody. Not only do they get to listen to my amazing hysterical jokes and listen to how me and Joseph survive in the day eating cereal, but they get free stuff too. It wouldn't be the summit without it, right? So thank you so much for being there for us and with us on this adventure. Okay, moving on. So last time we were with you all as a group like this at the last summit, we've done quite a bit since then. I don't know if you guys know, and I want to make sure everyone's aware, since that last summit, we've released ZBrush 2020. We did an update to also ZBrush Core, made that 2020. We also updated our trial to version 2020. We did a bunch of developer streams since then as well, where myself, Joseph, Daisuke are in streams all the time, helping you guys out. Pretty much what we've been doing with that tips and tricks is pretty much what we're doing in the streams a lot of the time. So you guys are watching us right now. Get on this channel, bookmark it. We're always on here. The other thing,
ZBrushLive.com. Yep.
What? Yeah, ZBrushLive.com. Our ZBrush Masters as well is a great location to go and rewatch those. It's a lot like, obviously, those videos we're playing that we're going to be getting into again today. A lot of those are ZBrush Masters sharing some great tips and feedback. You got to get engaged. So keep an eye on this stuff. We also launched a free version of ZBrush, which is ZBrush Core Mini. So anybody can jump into the world, the atmosphere of ZBrush, the community, the environment of ZBrush. Get in there, right? Get in that free version. And then, of course, we released another update to ZBrush 2021. Guys, we've done 2 updates to just ZBrush alone since the last summit, right? We don't stop. We keep going. We get excited about what we're doing. I don't know what else to say. I'm excited. I know Joseph's excited. I know the rest of the team is very excited to share with you guys. We are going to show you guys now a development update, which is going to be ZBrush 2021.5. Okay? This is going to be an update that's going to get to you guys, right, as soon as we can. But we know we want to show you guys what you're going to start getting to get you excited. And really, I just want to make everyone jealous because I have it. That's really where it's all coming from right
That's now. Really all that matters.
That's really all that's going to matter here, all right, in a second. So again, we are now going to show you guys where we are with the development, and our goal is to be able to get you guys this as soon as we can. So we're going to come back here and we're going to see Joseph and myself inside ZBrush 2021.5 and showing you guys what we've been up to and what we've been doing since the release of 2021, which was only like 4 months ago. I don't even remember anymore, right? So here we go, people. This is going to be a lot of fun. Ready for it? I can't even tell you. Buckle up.
I think so. Maybe.
Click, click. Oh,
all right.
All right.
So by popular demand, what we've done is we've removed all materials except for red wax. That's it. That's all you have now in ZBrush. Just red wax.
That's what you get.
That's it. That's it. I hope you're all happy.
It's the default again.
Just kidding. Just kidding. I know we have a lot of red wax fans out there. We got them out there. I had to show it just for you all. All the ones that really, really embrace the red wax. That's for you. Just remember, don't say I never gave you anything. All right. So as Paul mentioned, it's been a crazy year for us in terms of releases. Also want to hit on with the current version of ZBrush is out there. If you have not upgraded to the latest version, which is 2021.1.2, do so. So if you have a registered license of ZBrush, go and get that upgrade. We fixed a lot of stuff. We added some stuff. So go and get that and make sure you have it. We've also, some of the Mac stuff we had with fans, make sure you get that latest version. So just putting that out there because we've seen a few of our, people we had that we were demoing with and showing during the event this year. Some of them weren't fully upgraded. So just remember there is an upgrade and ZBrush will tell you when you launch. There's a big box that comes up and it says, hey, there's a new version. Do you want it? And you just click OK. That's all you need to do. Just click OK. All right. So we just released, 2021, and it had all this dynamic stuff in there. So as we were messing with this, we started thinking about, well, what else can we do to add to these dynamics? And also thinking about just the sculptural part inside of ZBrush, and what can you do with clay that we can do in the real world, and how can we get this into ZBrush? And one of the things that I really enjoy with just traditional clay sculpting, like using an oil-based clay, such as Monster Clay, maybe Roma, maybe Chavant, is if you take that clay and you heat it up, you can take a torch to it, you can take one of those little alcohol burners to it. It has this like fun thing that it does where it will melt just the surface enough, where it heats up just the surface so much into the model. And then you can take your finger, if it's not too hot, or any of your tools, and it creates this sliding effect. So you can actually slide these detail around on your model. So we've created a new feature that is inside of ZBrush now, and we're calling this thick skin. And what thick skin is going to do, it's going to mimic this effect that you can get if you take those oil-based clays and heat them up and slide your stuff around the surface. So as an example of this, here we just have a quick airbender sculpt that I was messing with. So I do a lot of these little sculpts when Paul's talking. It just keeps me entertained.
You ignore it. The way to ignore it. The way to ignore it. I get it.
And so one nice thing that we've done is we can activate this thick skin, and it's going to add this layer of this clay on top of our model. So this will work with any brushes. And so as an example here, I'm just going to grab one of the dynamic brushes. So I'm going to grab this cloth hook brush. Now, right now I have this thick skin option disabled. So if I take the cloth hook brush here, I can come across my model, and if I click and drag, I can start using this with that cloth surface. So this was really awesome with the release of 2021. And you come to and you can start pulling this around. You can generate fabric on characters. You can generate all this kind of dynamic effects. And a lot of stuff that I've been doing recently doesn't even relate to characters. It's just getting this nice surface detail using these dynamics. Now, with this, you'll see when I use this, I can start pulling this off the surface, right? So if I come over here and grab it, you can see I can start extending the bounds off the surface of the model. Well, with this thick skin mode, if I come over here to the tool palette, we have this little option here, and I can just enable this. And this is just going to toggle this mode on. Now, when this mode is enabled, now I can come across the model, and if I click and drag, it's going to function and feel like it would if this model was made out of that oil-based clay and you heated it up. So I'm sliding the details on the surface. And you can do this all over the place to get some really cool stuff. So if I undo this and turn on, say, symmetry here, you can start getting like wrinkled effects really easy. And this is just sliding the surface of the model. And it's just sliding it around like it is heated up as that oil-based clay. And we've been having a lot of fun with this, and it works excellent with the dynamics, and it gives this ability to add another level of detail to your sculpt. So it can take something that's very kind of smooth and shiny, and you can actually start playing with it a little more and get more expression out of it, get more detailing, and have a lot of fun. Now, in addition to just using this with the dynamics, you can go through and use this with any of the sculpting brushes, as I mentioned earlier. So I've been using this a lot with models that are just Dynameshes. So that model was set up to use dynamics, so it was a little bit lower. It had some dynamic subdivision on it, and I could move it around, and it's going to interact like that cloth surface did. But this model here is a Dynamesh model. So if I turn this on, you can see how dense this is. And then if I come down here, you can see I already have...
Hold the density a little bit. You got to remember, you're streaming, kid.
I am streaming here.
Give him a minute.
Dense. It's dense.
You've been with me for too long.
It's true.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
It's a Dynamesh. It's a dense model. Just remember that. And so with this, you can now take any sort of brush you want. So let's go and grab, say, the clay brush here, and then come across the surface. And as I'm doing this, you can see it's building up this skin on the model. So you can see it's adding the skin, and then if I have RGB off, I can remove the skin, and I can start blending these together to get this different effect on my mesh. Now, I've gone through and kind of taken a bunch of these brushes, ones that have already been inside of ZBrush, and just modified them and played with them. And one brush that I modified was this Groom Turbulence brush right here. And this one's crazy. Like, it's used for fibers. Take fiber mesh and you go through and just go nuts with it. Well, I took this and I just made a thick skin brush out of it. So it's just basically that Groom brush there, and then I've just applied an alpha to it, and I have my model with this thick skin active. Now, when I take this and drag it across the surface, you can now see I'm getting this clay-like effect. And as I brush this, I'm getting this now clay surface appearing on my model. And this is really, really nice. Like, it feels absolutely amazing, and it's so quick. So I can come through and just with a few strokes here, I can start getting this model to feel completely different. And I can just trace contours.
Real time, people, real time.
Move it around. And now I just have a totally different look. So I've taken this really quick airbender model here, and now I've added more of this intricate details with it. And the nice thing about this is that it'll work with any alphas. So I just have this mode enabled. I have just a brush, and then I can change how this is going to look and function entirely by just changing the alpha. So as an example, let me say I come through here, and let's get the alpha 27 now. And since this is like a skin, if I wipe it really hard, I can come through and I can actually get back to that original sculpt there. So you can see it's not, you know, expanding off the model. It's keeping it to that skin level. So it's what you would get if you were sliding that stuff around on that oil-based clay. And you can go in and out with this and just start building up forms, and they can actually come across and reapply it to certain areas. And if you go crazy like this, you can see just the difference in the detailing you get out of this. And so I've been having tons and tons of fun. I don't know how many models I think I did in testing on this, but it was just like every day I was like, I can do this. Yeah, I can do this. I can do this.
You did a lot.
And so let's get another alpha, because it's really, all I'm doing here is changing the alphas. There's nothing complex about this. This alpha 30 gives some cool stuff too. So you can definitely get more heightened surfaces off of this. So now I can get some of this bumping stuff in through here. So if you need to do a rougher kind of surface on your mesh, I can also go even to say alpha. Let's do another one here. Let's go for like 60 for that rake tool. And you can actually come through and use that. And if you keep doing it, it's going to kind of build up, right? So I can build it up to a certain level, and then I can scrape it back down and build it up again to a certain level and scrape it back down. And it's just really, really nice. And then I come back in with, say, that other alpha, one of my original ones, and kind of bleed stuff out. So maybe I want some rough areas, you know, around the chin, but then maybe on the eyes, I want them to be more, have more clarity to that. So I can, you know, brush that thick skin around and get that to clear up there. Now I have another example of this, more kind of a finished piece, and this was one that playing a lot of with this thick skin, and this was something that I couldn't do before inside of ZBrush. It would have taken me forever, right? So I started doing these little maquettes, kind of the same similar style that James Cain is using, where I take like a random mannequin, start posing the arms in different places, cut them all up, and then go in and start sculpting on it. So this is just a quick female model here. And the one part I want to hit on is this kind of dress through here. So this was done with some of the dynamics inside of ZBrush and then some traditional sculpting. And what I've done is you're seeing the finished version of it here. But let's go through and let's take this thick skin brush and let's just scrub this off. So I'm just going to get it a large brush here and just wipe it. So you can see this is what it looked like originally, right? So this is what I had. So if I just scrub across it with a large brush, it's going to take that thick skin. And it's kind of like you're taking your hand and just smearing those details out. Like you just smeared it across. And now if I come back in with this and come in, and all I've did through this was just get a brush size here that was pretty small. And if I sculpt one way, I'm getting this nice effect through here. Oop. Hit that right click army navigation there for a second. And I can go up and down. You can see this is giving me just more details to the sculpt here. And this was what I found was like, it took it to another level. And so I have like all these prints here. I'm gonna show you guys these too, guys and gals, because I was doing them. After I did this, I was like, yep, this is what I'm looking for here. And it's getting you that fine art kind of level of stuff. And it's not hard, folks. It's not hard. Just moving the brush, moving the brush.
Did you just
so here,
gals them? That's great.
Hey, I'd like to say you all a lot, and I'm trying to break it.
You should.
All right, so Kyle, can you give me a little full screen here for a second?
Yeah, give them full webcam.
So I did a lot of test prints on these too. I was doing it, and so I think eventually I'm probably gonna get these large. But you can see I have a few of these that I've been doing, and this is all that same process. And these models, in my opinion, would have been really boring. I probably wouldn't have done them until we got this feature in. And then once I got this feature in, this is actually also using some of the dynamics through there. Because you can just take an object and use the dynamics and squeeze it with that transpose brush. And you get these nice kind of wrinkles and ripples. And so I've been doing all these little more artistic, you know, gallery style stuff. Yeah, fine art. And they all have that clay look on them. Now, of course, these are in white. That's all the peel I had currently before I printed these for the show here. So I'll probably shadow them some. But they're processed the same way. So I did just a quick rough sculpt, and then you go in with this thick skin and build up your forms. You can build up your muscle structures. You can get it to where it looks like clay cutting in and out of the surface. And it's been amazing. Really, really amazing. So this is one of my, I told Paul he couldn't have this feature to show. I told him it was mine.
No way, man. No way.
But you're going to recap on it some.
Yeah, 100%. I got other ways to show this too. I see all the questions coming through. People.
Yeah, and it will work with one other thing too, just before we give it to Paul here, is it'll work with any like your drag rectangle strokes too. And so if I take this and say grab, you know, like an alpha like this, I can start dragging this out. Oh, I need to go back to my standard brush. Hold on, wait for it. And it'll do this too. So you can definitely apply it with alphas and different surfaces too. It'll also work with color. And it does this really nice effect. What you see now, you know, it's keeping those alphas in that thick area there. So you can go through and you can detail patterns and designs out like this too. And it's going to constrain just to that thick skin level. And that's another real nice way to get, you know, different kind of topology applied on your mesh. And you can also add color to it and gets all sorts of different things. So it's a really, really nice way to add this surface detail on your models. All right, Paul.
Okay.
You can have it.
It's my turn now. I'm going to show you guys some more about thick skin here. I'm going to show you guys a way that I've been using it. So some of you maybe have seen my stream, my Gremlin. This is why I haven't been showing my Gremlin, people. I've been using the Gremlin as a test bed for this version. So you can see all the scaling I did here, right? It's all by, I'm not done yet, but this is all by hand. I'm big more of, I think, more the traditional way. I don't like to use alphas as much. I like to have some control, right, to what I'm sculpting and what I'm working on. So I've gone through here and just started using the brushes, right? So you can see, for an example, in this leg here, right, in the area I got here, I'm just switching to clay buildup. You can see right now in thick skin, it's on, and I got a thickness of 3. This is what I really love about this new feature. I'm sitting here and I'm going, okay, I like this. And let's say, you know, I decide, you know what, I want some more scales, but you know what, I want those scales instead of being like that, I want them, you know, start building them up and making them be all one, right? And I can start now just going through that process and making them go like that, right? It's a great way to start working like this, right? It's just a way to go, now I can pull back and I can go, did I like that? Did I like that? And you see, I've set my thick skinning to 3. So this is kind of like plateauing the brush. I cannot sculpt past this plateau now. That's what this is doing. This is making it, we are establishing, that's why we're calling it thick skin. It's got like a skinning there, right? To do that, okay? So it's really nice to be able to do this. What I also like, what my next step's going to be for this, right, is switching to something like the Inflate, right? Because I know everyone's asking brushes and brushes. Guys, this is going to work for a lot of brushes. Watch, if I start inflating, you can see the Inflate stops at a point, right? You can see I am plateauing right there. I cannot push the surface any further past that, right? And it can smooth things back if I want to. It's my world, man. It's my world. It's my world now. Right? So I'm establishing that area of how high do I want that to go. Okay. And the real cool thing about this, I saw some people talking about it, right? If I decide, I'm going to switch back to my clay buildup because all these little parts of these scales that I'm doing was all done with only the clay buildup in this feature. That's it. That's so far all I've done. I'm going to be going through and doing a lot more with this. It's just we were prepping for this show. So, you know, the time got away from me. So I'm going to drop this all the way down to like nothing, right? And I can start sculpting actually it away. All my hard work.
It's all gone.
It's all gone, right? So instead of even using a morph target, what you could do, I'm using the thick skin as my morph target ability because we're establishing what my thickness is, right? So let's look real quick at like a clean leg here, right? So let's just go through the process really quick so you guys get the idea. I know this is a lot to take in. Press a button. Done. There.
Done.
Done. Right? We now knowing what I want to do with this, What is the height I want? It's 20. I can say 20 is a little extreme. I'm going to go 3 because that's what I like. And then you can see I am plateauing. I cannot go any higher than that, right? And don't forget, I can sculpt in, and you can see that also is plateauing inward as well. So I've got both. I got both abilities. And what I really like about this system, I'm sure you've all wanted to do this before as well. I go, you know what? I changed my mind. Let's go 6 now, right? So now I want to go 6, and you can see I sculpt up, and the new, even the part I already sculpted comes and meets the new depth for me. And guys, this is going to work with any sculpting brush that you want to use. No problem, right? It's really opened up. So like we were saying, we were hinting things like Anna's video that we were hinting at, right? This is what I'm saying is going to even expand her workflow more than what we've been doing already inside of ZBrush. This, to me, is such a great way to start working and going through this. Now, let's go back to the one that's a little more finished. I'm sure you guys have all had times, and especially me, I'm working on this guy to not only do like I want to print him just like Joseph. He's printing. I want to get in the game. I want to get in the fun. I want to print a couple of these out and put them in my office and have one fishing in the corner. I'm going to do a CNC machine with my team over there at Monster City Studios. I've already been talking to them, right? So I've already been prepping this guy for print, right? So you can see I'm getting ready to print this guy out. So let's go to the arm, okay? And you know, we got a lot of people in here. Here's one other thing that I've always wanted to do. Like, guys, I did this, I don't even know now, a week ago, or whatever it is. And now I'm looking at it and I'm going, you know what? It's just, there's not enough there. I want more. Okay. And the thick skin's not going to give it to me. It's not going to give me, I'm not going to go and sit there and redraw. I don't even know how many of these little scale attachments I started putting here. It's thousands now, right? I don't want to do that. So I'm going to go to my deformation, and we've got a new little slider here, my friends. We've got a new slider. We got a slider called contrast. Watch what this is going to do. I'm going to reposition this arm a little bit. And because I know we're streaming, I want to make sure people see time. I'm just going to start bumping up this, right? This contrast slider. Look what's happening. Look what's happening in my scales. They're all growing. They're all getting bumped out more. I immediately, guys, for those that have 3D printer anything, are you kidding me right now? Do you know how helpful that is? Where you're printing something like, oh man, it's not deep enough. Do you really want to go sit there and resculpt something like this all over again? Heck, nope. No. No. So you guys got this slider now, right? And I can repeat the active, and I can just keep. Now it's getting ridiculous, right? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, right? So guess what? We didn't stop there. Oh, God, this is, hold on. I need a moment to let you guys catch up on what I just did there. Okay? Okay? Thank you. Let's go into the brush palette, and let's hit that C key, because there's a lot of brushes that like using the C key. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everybody that's watching, whatever Joseph is calling you guys today, what are you calling them today?
I don't know.
Guys and dolls, whatever you're saying. There are now
guys and gals. Guys and gals.
There are 2 brushes. There's now a contrast target, and there's a contrast delta. So guess what? You guys can do this by your hand. You don't have to use that slider. So you can say, hey, I just want a certain area on this, and I want a certain area to start bumping up, right? I'm just going to go slow so you guys can kind of see it in the stream. I am choosing now where I want that bumping of my details to happen. Like, are you kidding me right now? Look, and then I can smooth it back even if I want to, and then maybe I'll start contrasting that a little bit, right? So there's 2. So I can switch to either the target, or I can go to the delta, and this is the one that's going to be like just insane, where it's got a little bit of a difference to it, and you can see it's just really pushing on the details. I'm really, oh yeah, hammering those out, right? You can see the difference now that I smooth back. The difference in that height I made, that's it. That's all I'm doing, is I'm having now the ability to just brush across and sculpt the details where I need it to pop out more, or I go and use that slider and say, just do the whole thing. Do the whole thing, go nuts, right? So guys, this is enhancing so many workflows, not just for 3D printing, but I'm sure all of you have done scales like this, or done so many things where you've done maybe a scar or wrinkles, and you just want to bump it out just a little bit more. Now you can, and you don't have to sit there and re-sculpt. I don't know how many times I've messed up a sculpt trying to make it kind of push out a little bit more. I've messed out more than I want to say, right? So my goal for you all is I'm going to finish this gremlin guy, and I'm going to show the finished 3D print of him too, and using these features. That's my goal. My goal will be, hopefully I can have all that done for you guys to see it, so you get a really idea. Again, everything you're seeing here in these scaling I've done, it's all with this. Dude, it's changed my life. These two features are no joke for me, okay? Right? I love what Hawaii said. Just shut up and take my money. All right, I'm not done. I'm still going. All right. So all of you guys here, I'm just going to do a reset of all my brushes. Just let's regroup. Let's regroup, people. Let's regroup here. Okay, I'm going to grab just something that you guys all have, and you guys all have in your ZBrush. You guys can do this yourselves, okay? So many times, and I've said this in many of my streams, Joseph is a different guy. We all work different artistically. When I'm smoothing out a surface, right, and I'm sitting here and I'm smoothing, right? We're smoothing. Great, I'm smoothing, right? Which is great. The problem is when I start to smooth, I like to explain it as like being Superman. When you're smoothing, right, you're pushing on the surface as well, right? So it's like if I was really Superman, I get to smooth, but I get to push the wall at the same time. By the way, I am Superman. I wish, right? So you can see the brush. You see it's making that circular ring right now, right? And you guys, this is also when you start, you guys have probably had like Dynameshes or use unified mesh where there's kind of triangulated 5 stars. When you're using the normal smooth brush, that starts to peak. I know you all know what I'm talking about, right? So
and points,
right? My favorite smoothing brush is this one. Look, hand off the keyboard, hand off the keyboard, hand off the keyboard. Look at me, right? Guys, get used to it. I'm going to do it all day to keep you awake. I got to keep Dressed awake. It's late. So you see I'm in the same area. I've been going longer now than I was previously. And see there's none of that circle. None of that circle going outside, right? This is a brush that's called the alternate smooth brush, smart brush. This is my go-to smooth brush, okay? To access this, I'm holding the shift key, I'm clicking on the surface, and then I'm letting go of the shift key. That's why I'm doing this crazy, stupid look up here at me. All right, so by popular demand, we have ripped that out and added another smoothing brush. So now you guys can select that brush on its own. This has been a request. Here you go that are using it. You now can say smooth alt, and now this is when I hold the shift key, I'm now doing the other smooth.
No, you can hold that shift key to your heart's content now.
And Russ, let's not forget, if I let go of the shift key now, it switches back to the original smooth. So a user like me, my default smooth brush now is going to be this brush now. It's going to be the smooth alt. And now I'm going to use the alt key to do the harder smooth. See that? Now I'm letting go, but I'm on the smooth alt. So we ripped that feature out for you and made it its own brush. It's been a request. And let's not forget in the brush palette, people, in the smooth brush modifiers, there's a slider right here that actually controls how that is the strength of that polishing and how that's going to look. Okay? So there you go. You requested it. You're getting it. Right? I want to throw it back to Dress now. He's got more things. We're not done, people. There's still more stuff.
We're not done.
We're not done. We're not done.
All right. So as Paul was saying, you know, those new features have been like amazing, especially the contrast and things like that. And when we're messing with these, we started looking at our models and we were, you know, trying to figure out ways to, you know, view them inside of ZBrush. And so we take something like this and sculpt it out. We could then go and add the, you know, the thick skin clay on top of it. And then we will start doing some Bpr renders with this. And one of the things we did with the Bpr renders is we added a new Bpr filter. So if you've been using the Bpr filters, we decided we ended up sculpting, you know, some things that would look like they'd be in an art gallery, right? And when you're in art galleries, what do you have? You have usually a light that shines down on top of that model. So we've added a filter that mimics this, and it is the Bpr filter here. So I'm just going to click Bpr and render this really quick. And you can see this is the result now we can get using this filter. Now this filter is just accessed normally like you'd find the other filters inside of ZBrush. So if we go to the render palette here and just dock this to the side, if we go to render filters, you can see we now have a radial overlay filter. So if I turn this off, so this is what I have with just the normal Bpr render. And if I enable it, this is with that radial overlay filter applied. Now, if you haven't used filters at all, the one thing that's really, really nice about them is that they're instantaneous because they're post-process effects. So you render with BPR, it gets your model, and then you can apply all these filters on top of it, and you're going to see the changes in real time. So if I don't like the radial filter, you can see I can just turn it off. If I want to go and modify this, there's a bunch of modifiers in here. I can change the radius of that. I can also change the fall off. I can change the positions of where this light goes to, and I can start getting these effects with this filter now inside of BPR. Now this will also stack with all the other filters that are in here. So if I say I want to add the sharpen filter here, I can add that. You can see me get a lot more details applied to that. And these all have their own modifiers as well as the radial overlay there. And then we go down and even do things like add some hue to this, and then change these things around and start getting that BPR render. So this is one of those things, if you watched any of the sculpt-off, a lot of these effects with these filters can be applied to those models inside of ZBrush to get that final image, and you don't have to go anywhere else. You just do it right here. And the one thing nice about this is after you render with BPR once and then activate any of the filters over here, they'll do it automatically. And this is the big thing, because you can make a really drastic changes on your model, and all you're doing is changing the modifiers here in the filter menu. So new filter there for you all, the radial overlay. Now, in addition to this, we found that, hey, that's really awesome when rendering, right? It looks great when rendering, but there's times when I'm just sculpting. And when I'm sculpting a model, I want, a little more enhancement. I want to be able to see where those cavities are I just created, where those details are on my model. So in addition to this, we've added a new option just for the preview inside of ZBrush here, and it is we now have a preview AO. So if we come over here and activate this, you're going to be able to start seeing that AO being applied to your model. Now this will work with any material inside of ZBrush. You can load it, activate that preview AO, and now you're going to have an AO pass overlaid on top of your material. So we can increase the radius here, we can also increase the intensity, and even the amount of the quality here, and this is now going to give us that AO now on our mesh. So you can see now here, I have, those details are popping a little bit more in that preview render. Now once again, this works with any of the materials. If I come over and switch to any of these, you're going to see that that AO is still going to come through on that model. So we found this was really cool when playing with these new features such as the thick skin and also that contrast that Paul was showing earlier. So as a quick example of this, I'm just going to isolate the Greyhound here. Just pull him out, and then I'm just going to split him off as its own subtool here and hide the rest. Now, one thing that's awesome with the contrast as well is you can take, as Paul was showing it, and enhancing, his details for his gremlin there for 3D printing, but you can also do it to enhance sculptural stuff too. So with this Greyhound here, if I simply just come down here to that deformation area, and then I go to this contrast slider and just increase this, you're going to see my Greyhound has now totally changed the appearance, right? So this is what I had before. And now with this contrast, I'm going through and I'm spiking that model geometry. And now I have a totally new sculptural look to this mesh. And it took, what, 2 seconds to get that done. So now my Greyhound just got all this extra detail. That AO is coming in and showing off all those details on the model. And now I'm getting this really, really awesome effect on the mesh. Now with the contrast brushes too, they work really differently if you have a model that's tessellated evenly across the surface, or if you have one that, say, has been decimated. So if you take a decimated model, that contrast is going to find those surfaces, and since you have those limited points, it's going to spike areas, and this gives another really cool effect. So you can use, if you're using the contrast, when you guys get this version, guys and gals get this version, go through and just try it on different types of geometry. So try it on Dynamesh models, try it on decimated models, try it on Sculptors Pro models, try it on ZBrush models, and you're going to get different results. And a lot of the sculptures I've been doing, just to enhance their initial shapes and stuff, has all just been using this contrast and then that thick skin. So you can sculpt stuff really rough and then use those and then go back in and start seeing those forms and shapes and building them up. Now, in addition to this, not only have we done this with the contrast and those other options, but one thing I love about ZBrush is Sculptors Pro. And I pretty much, if I'm inside sculpting, I pretty much have Sculptors Pro active for the entire time. Now, if you've been using Sculptors Pro, as I usually do, you just activate it, and then I come across the model, and Sculptors Pro is going to allow you to apply model details, and it's going to tessellate it at the same time. So as I am sculpting, depending on the size of my draw size, it's going to add geometry to support that stroke. Now, if you've used Sculptors Pro in the past, you'll notice that if you're going to do it across your entire model, it may end up getting pretty dense. And so you may only be able to, take Sculptors Pro so far if you're doing an entire character. However, we have now added the ability to use Sculptors Pro with hidden geometry.
What?
So what this means is that I can now isolate part of a model, go in and start using Sculptors Pro on that part of the model. I don't have to have the entire model visible anymore. I can isolate a part, just go in and apply the details to that area. And then after I'm happy with those details in those certain areas, I can return entirely back to my model. I can then go in and isolate, say, another part and go in and use Sculptors Pro in this fashion. And this is huge. This is another one of those additions that we've added where I can't go back anymore. I'm done. We've been doing these tips and tricks in the latest version that you all have. And every time I go to use Sculptors Pro, it's just like, I just want to hide a part and just use Sculptors Pro.
Yeah, you're probably going to be more of this now than even using something like Dynamesh.
Yeah, and this is entirely what it is. And definitely just for adding details and different things, it's, for me, when you activate that Sculptors Pro, you're working with real clay almost at that point because you're not restricted by the topology. As Paul said, with those smooth brushes that has now been added, you definitely can smooth that surface down and get rid of those little points. But if you're using Sculptors Pro, it's going to tessellate that model as you do it, and that stroke's going to remain constant all the way through. And you can also use, all the new things we had with that thick skin and everything else, and just start building up those shapes, return back to your model, find another area you want to modify. You can go like detail, detail, detail. So definitely it's kind of like this mini, I don't know, it's almost like a mini HD when you say, Paul, where you can go in and just add the details where you need it. And now you're not going to have that whole model there visible. And you can come in and use that.
I think that's a good way to think about too, like how many times people, again, 3D printing, they need to add some detail, and now they want to pump even more detail. Bam, there you go. Show that section, go.
Yeah, so really, really amazing stuff. And then now with the ambient occlusion, you can see the difference too. Like look at this in terms of what it was doing for the dog. And this is all, in that preview. So as I go through and sculpt on the dog here, you can see that AO is updating too. So I'm able to see, those details from that ambient occlusion for the sculpt as I'm making it. And this is another thing that's been a lot of fun to play with because it just gives you a different effect when you're working on your model. So before, it would look, a little flat through there, right? So as you're sculpting this, you're not really seeing, all that stuff in there. And then you just throw that AO on top of it. And now it's going to find all those little crevices, all those little details that the brushes are generating, and just gives it more of this artistic and traditional look to it. So a lot of fun, a lot of fun, a lot of fun. All right, Paul, you got more, right?
Right. Yep. Guys, we're not done. We've got some more stuff to show you. Okay. I know my main man, Shane Olson, said it. You're right, Shane. All right. So I'm going to show you guys some other items, okay, that we have. So you were right. My Gremlin had that AO screen space, right? So you can see it off, what it's looking like off, and what it's looking like on, right? That's a big difference for sure when you're going to sculpt that way, right? So let's keep going. Let's keep working here, all right? So obviously, we've been having a navigation battle, right-click navigation, right, and all that. So, of course, now we've got our 3D mouse, right? 3D connection. So now as a user, I can start using this as a way to start navigating my model. So instead of using my pen like this, I can just start using my navigation here to start pulling on this. I can tilt. You guys are going to be able to navigate and, in the sense, zoom and rotate at the same time. I can zoom in, zoom out. I can move it up and down. And right now, I'm barely touching this thing. So this is, I know there's a lot of people that have been using this mouse. So there you go. We are officially now supporting this mouse. They're happy little trees.
Yeah, the cool thing about this is you can zoom and rotate at the same time, which is a big thing you couldn't do in ZBrush without this device.
Yeah, look at that.
And then it's kind of like you're flying. You're in like Flight of the Navigator is what I feel like. You're in there and you're flying that ship right now. That's
so true. I get where you're going with that. I like it, right? So this is really nice. One other thing I like about this, right? Going back to my Gremlin, right? For this, just to give you an idea, is like you guys are used to doing stuff like this. You guys are also going to be able to tell it to go to the bottom. Then I can tell it switch to the top, right? Then I can tell it you know, let me look at the right side. Let me look at, so I'm using now the buttons on this system, right? So instead of me even have no snapping, I can have a button that does all the turning for me, right? So there's another way for you guys to use this. So instead of just using the keyboard now and this, I have the ability to start using whatever I want here. Zoom in, zoom out, rotate around, start looking at my model, right? And then start going here and start adding some contrast and start rotating and looking at what I'm working on, right? Very cool. Very cool. Now, not everyone's going to have this mouse, okay? Right out the gate. Some of you already have it, and some of you are winning it. We're giving away more today, okay? We've got more to give away. So there's other things that we've done here. So there's something that's, I think, really valuable and important for you all is when you're navigating, especially certain artists want to look at like a certain way when they're looking at something. Like I want that feeling like I'm holding it also in my hand and doing this kind of a thing or doing this kind of a thing maybe, right? So what we've done here, besides that, I'm going to close this up. Besides adding that 3D mouse to the way you guys can navigate now, we've added another menu here in our transform. We got now axis rotation. Okay, you guys are going to be able now to rotate by certain degrees and in only one axis. You're going to be able to lock that axis down in essence and rotate it. So right now you can see I've got 15 in there. So it's a 15-degree rotation. So I'm going back to this and you can see I hit a key on my keyboard that I've set, right? And now I'm going in 15 degrees rotation. And this is dependent upon how my model is looking at the screen right now. Right now I'm looking straight at him, right? So if I did something like this, right, and I just put them on an angle, then if I start now using these, you can see it's rotating around that. Now, here's the nice thing. Here we go, people. You can come over here, right, and you see these little buttons right here. I can restrict and say the Y, right, and then now it's only the Y. I'm only moving around the Y. So I don't know if any of those have maybe done toys or collectibles. This is sometimes how I want to look at my toys when I'm modeling them. I just want to quickly, I kind of want that old, listen, I think this version's really going back to the roots of just sculpting, period.
I think you're right.
Like that's what you do. You're on a turntable, you're turning. We wanted to give you guys that same thing. Same thing with this 3D connection mouse, right? I can just rotate around one axis by just turning on my hand, right? I can just grab this and I just turn my hand. Boom. Boom. You're getting them tonight, people. You're getting lots of booms tonight. Okay, now, I want to be a little quicker than that personally, okay? So you can dial up whatever you want, right? I can say every 30 degrees if I want to, right? So now it's going to bounce. Now, here's the cool thing, okay? I'm going to come here and I'm going to add use pen. What? What's that? Here you go, people. I'm going to hold a shortcut, and I'm just moving my hand. I don't know why I laugh so much about new features. I just love it. I am restricting this by, even though, look at my cursor. Look, it's just flying all over the place. It's like my life. I'm everywhere. I can't stay in a straight line. But you see, I'm only rotating along that Y-axis. And of course, if I want to go along the Z, now it's only the Z-axis. And again, this is a navigational thing. How many times you guys wanted to do something where you wanted to get navigation, something snapping to exact point navigation and drawing it out, making a thing, boom, right? So there you go, right? There is that way to navigate as well. And let's not forget, there's also the use local. What that's going to do is wherever I've sculpted last, so if I'm sculpting here, right? I'm sculpting right in here. When I now go to use this, see it's going around that arm, right? So here, I'm going to load something else real quick. I know we're getting there. So if I sculpt right here on the nose, well, it might help if I.
That was not a sculpt.
That was not a sculpt. You can see Rudolph going around the nose, right? It's using the nose now as its point. So that's what that local is going to be, okay? So again, more navigation things shown at you to get that feeling of sculpting. Like, again, I think this version is like going back to some major sculpting roots for sure. I really love it. Okay, guys, people, all right, everybody. You know what? We made some big changes to Z Modeler. Look at this. Look at this. This reminds me of those that have Gundam models. Look what the AO's doing to my model right now. It's giving me those fill-in.
Yeah, you crank that AO up a little. Make it a little bit.
Crank it up. He wants me to get a little more. Look at that. Right? Quick, instantaneous, right? With it off here, I'll have to dock this here. I got it docked over here again, right? Off, on. Off, on. I know this is the exciting part, right? But you can see Those that do Gundams, you know what I mean, right? You're painting in that dark part. Now, so for me, that edge extruding that we added was huge, right? We're not done, people. Let's go down a little bit of the Z modeler updating. That's right. We've added some more to Z modeler. So what I'm about to do, guys, this is another, okay, everyone get ready. Buckle up. Lisa needs braces. Lisa needs braces. Lisa needs braces. Look up here, okay? Feature request. Faces. Slice. Edges. Slice. Vertex point. Slice. That's right, people. You can now slice across. So I can say, let me slice from there to there. Bam! Sliced. How do you like them apples? Right? Perfect. Bring in some of my more movie. Bam to bam. What? And notice what else is happening to the slice. It's immediately being creased. Right now. Right? So you can see low polygon modeling now. We're going to be expanding this even more. Okay, let's go and take a look at something that we've been talking about. Let's do it on a model like this, right? So right now I have all three modes set up for slicing. What is going to be great about this is going, okay, I want to go from that point to that point, okay, and then I want to come up here, then I'm going to come down here, then I'm going to go up here, then I go, you guys see what I'm doing here? I'm just going beep, 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 along the ways, right? And you can see, okay, now I want to come back over here, click here, then go to there, right? So I'm getting a new surface, right, with a creased edge, right across this. So you notice that this is increased now, right? All of us would probably go down here and say, crease it, right? And then you're sitting here, bam, 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 clicking. Not anymore, Joseph Dress. Not anymore. Hold the space bar, crease shortest path. Now I just click on a point. I click on the other point, right? Oh, I'm using my thing that I don't want to right now. Click on a point, bam, crease. So all you guys got to do now is just say, okay, I want to go from that point to that point. It's creased, right? And then you can say, oh, now I want to go that point to say that point. It's creased, right? So we're just creasing. Now, the other thing that's nice that we've also added, and Joseph's going to go into this more, so don't worry. If you guys didn't catch this, don't worry. He's going to be showing some more after this as well. Oh, this one's near and dear to my heart. This feature, we all know. We all know about it. We all understand the Crease PG. Let's say it together. What is really Crease PG, everyone? Crease what? Crease Paul Gabriel.
Paul Gabriel.
Thanks, Truss. Thank you for that one button. I can have it now. Right?
It's always been yours. It's always been yours.
Thanks. It's really Crease Polygroups. I just like to make jokes that are really bad. Okay, ready? Watch this. Everybody watch this. I already see the question coming through. Spacebar. Polygroups. Fill. Right? Stop at the creasing edges. Stop at even polygroups. Watch this. One click. Boom. Filled. Polygrouped it. Done. Done. I don't know what more guys, what more do we need to do? Here we go. Q-mesh it. Polygroup all. You guys asked? Done. Problem. Oh my God. What did we do? Z modeler. I tell you what we did. We expanded. I love Z modeler. It's something I use all the time in my hard surface. I want to now send it to Joseph Dress because he's going to show you more about these features and some more stuff. We're not done, people. We're not done. All right, so we're going to throw it to Dress now. Ready? And break. Go.
There we go. All right, so I'm bringing back the drone. It took a lot of time to make this drone. It was seen in a webinar a long time ago, and now finally it's back. You got to fly with the Space Mouse. And so the slice is so just amazing for this stuff. Amazing. Like this is one of the things that, we've gotten a lot of requests on. And I just want to, just cover it one more time just for, everybody at home. Just say like, hey, make sure you all understand what this is doing. So here's a little panel part here. And, before, let's say I came through and, turn off my dynamic there. Let's turn down that AO a little bit. Quickly. And AO will work on anything. So you just turn it on and it's going to go across every single thing you have in your scene, and it's all in that preview mode. You can also change, the quality of it. So if you have a really high model and you want to spin around really fast with that preview AO, you can come through and you can dial that back a little bit, or you can crank it up to get that most accurate AO as possible. So as Paul had, he set up that brush really quick. Now, once again, if you are a ZModeler user, remember, you can store the brush, right? So you can save your own little slice brush here. So I have my own little ZModeler slice brush that I've created, and this one's already set up with those different options. So I got that slice for a point, slice for an edge, and slice for a face. Now, when you're doing this, you can start from any of those locations. So I can start from this edge, and I can come all the way down to here. Oh, my mouse is going crazy. Mouse is going crazy.
I had the same problem.
And so I can add that edge there. Let me get out of my polyframes there. And so you can see, and as it's created, you can start getting that crease. Now, if you don't want that crease, what you can do is if you go back into the option here, you have the option to don't crease too. So if you don't want to add those creases and then do that really cool fill thing that Paul was doing, you're not like required to do it if you don't want to. And this will also save with that brush. You could set up a slice brush with the ZModeler brush that will be creases, and then you have one that without, and then you go through and quickly switch through them. But this has been pretty amazing in terms of just getting, different effects on your model. So now I've just come through and I've just made a quick little design. And then you can also just come through if you want to do another quick way to do creases. You can just come across an edge that already exists and it'll apply that crease there as well. And now I have this little shape, and then I come through, I can hold down Alt and quickly grab that. And then just using the same brush, I can switch back to that Q mesh and do that polygroup all and just come through and just, expand it in and out. And so this has been like amazing for like adding little details to stuff, especially if you're doing any hard surface stuff with ZModeler. It's going to come out already creased. So if you apply that dynamic subdivision, you can add that creasing that's already going to be there. It's going to work perfectly. And just getting things like this, which you could have done with the Boolean, but you would have to generate the shape, move in position and place where you want it. Now you can just come through and just quickly cut through those different surfaces and get it exactly where you want it. So this has been awesome, awesome, awesome for many different parts. And it's one of those things that once you add it along with that edge extrude that's in the ZModeler, it just makes the ZModeler even more powerful than it already was. And so just been having a blast playing with this, doing retopology, adding these little insets, just slicing it up. Fun, fun times. All right, so another thing that we added, or built in now rather, into ZBrush is, let me get out of solo here. Here I have a little ZModeler car here. So this is that same kind of principles. I did this one a little while ago too, and then if I would have had the option to do that slice back then, it would have made stuff a lot easier. Yeah. But this car, you can see here, I have this kind of toy car here, and then on top of it, I have this Christmas tree. Let me get out of this brush here. What's going on here?
Oh, Christmas tree. Oh,
I got the bold. I'm stuck in bold brush for some reason. Let's go ahead and reset my brush.
You got Z-Sketch.
Oh, very true. Thank you, Paul.
Mm-hmm. And
so with this car here, and it has this tree on back of it, I wanted to add a rope effect, right? So we talked earlier in some of the tips and tricks how you could take a part and then apply it across a curve. You can drag that curve around, get it where you want to go. But sometimes it's a little bit tricky to get certain things out of that curve, because when you manipulate the curve, you can adjust your size of it and rotate around. You can turn on that elastic mode, which helps a lot. And then that will allow you to kind of tailor it. But for getting knots and like complex shapes, it's often kind of difficult to do it with just a curve. So we have this little plugin that Marcus created here at Pixologic, and it was called the Curve Helper. And so what this would do is we could use Z-spheres to base where our curve is going to go, and then we can apply a curve from that Z-sphere location. So here I just have a set of Z-spheres here. And I've just manipulated these around using, move, scale, and rotate, just added different things, moving around. You can see I can come through and adjust these really easy. So it's just basically doing that same thing we saw with some like Steve Lord with those quick shapes using Z-spheres, and people using mannequins and everything else. These are all these hierarchically linked little objects, and you can move them around. And this is very controllable. So I can get these down to exactly where I want them to be. I can fit them into areas. I can add loops around stuff. I can create knots out of these, and it's going to stay that way. And so if I want to add more, areas of knotting or something like that, I just add more Z-spheres, move them around, and get that result. So now we've added in the stroke palette here, the Curves Helper is now going to be built in to this menu here. And so in here, I can copy this chain. So if I come over here and copy Z-sphere chain, it's going to look at that Z-sphere chain that's there. And once again, this doesn't have to be just a single section of Z-spheres. If you have Z-spheres going off all over the place, that chain is going to follow wherever those Z-spheres are. So it's going to place a Z-sphere or a chain everywhere you have Z-sphere. So if you have like a dragon with wings and he's got the wing out and he's got a bunch of these dangling things, it's going to go all the way down.
Oh yeah, that's official. Dangly things. That's official.
Dangly things.
That's an official word.
So I'm going to kick the copy chain there, and then you can now come back up here, and there's an option where you can just append a new, and it'll just append a new Polymesh 3D star and apply that curve right to that scene. Or we can just select another tool that already has a piece of geometry in it. So I just have a cube that I just floated in the middle of the car here. And now if I go back to stroke and I do create curve, it's now going to create a curve exactly where that Z-sphere rope was. So if I turn on solo here, and let me get out of move there, you can see this is, let's get out of my solo here quick.
I can see it. I can see it.
My Z-sphere curve, right? So it just took the Z-spheres that I manipulated, made in those little knots and everything else, and now it's added a curve exactly where that Z-sphere was. Now I go over here and grab any, IMF curve brush I want. So the one I usually use is that IMF curve strap. I can come over here and click this, and depending on what my draw size here is, oh, that was too much.
That's a little aggressive, Trust. That's a little
aggressive. It's going to populate along that curve. Now I actually have a better brush too. It's I have a rope. More appropriate if you're going to put a Christmas tree on your car, am I right? You're probably not going to do straps on straps on straps. You may have a whole bucket full of belts. That's where we're going with that one too, Paul. A bucket.
A bucket of belts.
A bucket of belts.
I like it.
And now you can see I have that rope going all the way there. And now if I turn back on my different parts here, come back through here and turn on my car.
Turn off.
And then we'll turn off the initial Z-sphere chain there. You can see now I've got my rope around the car. Now, once again, this is still an active curve. So if I want to come and manipulate this now, I can come through now and click and drag and manipulate this by the curve, right? So I can move this curve's still there, so I can even modify the rope there. So you can modify it at the Z-sphere stage, and then after you convert those Z-spheres to that curve and apply the IMM brush, you can then go in and manipulate it there as well. So a lot of flexibility, and this is one of the things, like if you've ever seen anything that I've done that has a lot of complex curves, I've probably used that plugin that was the Curve Helper. And this has been around for a little while, but just was never fully inside of ZBrush.
Yeah, you can get it now.
Yeah, but it's a good one. It's one of my favorites for doing.
We just wanted to make this a part of the ZBrush. It makes like perfect sense, man. Z-spheres are so easy to manipulate. So, yeah.
Well, there you go, Paul. That's all I got.
Well, that's all I got too. That, my friends, was the development update for you for 2021.5. Now, our goal is to get this out in 5 years, okay? So when I mean that, I'm just kidding, people. Just kidding. We're trying to get this out to you guys. The reason why we're showing to you guys tonight is we're trying to get this out to you as soon as we possibly can. So also, for those of those that do not already